and by the bow. Your guiding light is all I know. Through wood and steel, through fire and lace, I'm blessed to walk within your grace. Is to a throig arcane. You laid the path before me. You guided every step. Raise the hammer, string the bow. Her gift is all I need to know. Through toil and trial, through heart and hand, her grace builds up this mighty land. Is the glass the dead time it's sore? We'll build the land, our hearts within. From dawn till dusk, I work, I strive. With your blessing, I'll survive. The loom, the forge, the sword, the grain in your name, I rise again. Got buat, got tolan, got trio. In you lies strength, in you lies skill. Each victory, each talent, each trial. No task too great, no skill too small. Your gifts, dear goddess, guide us all. Into force. Without your light, we have no guide, but with your hand, our place abides. Raise the hammer, string the bow. Her gift is all I need to know. Through toil and trial, through heart and hand, her grace builds up this mighty land. Is the grass the dead time it's sore? To find it until our greatest deed. By the grace of the goddess we are free. We'll build the land, our hearts within. I'm blessed to walk within your grace. Blessed by her grace, forever, forever.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Pax Dei, Search for Steel. I'm your host, Daniel, and we'll be continuing our journey on, what were we talking about? Values, core values. It's been a day and a work session. So, yeah, this is, and tonight we're about to embark on the journey, really, that spans continents, centuries, and many languages of the human spirit. And what am I talking about? Well, the core principle of this channel is to use all the philosophers of the world, no matter what the time period, nor the philosopher. All knowledge is valid in the pursuit of reason, logic, and of course, the pursuit of just a great civilization, a great life. So, after delving into our personal values in the last episode, it's time to zoom out and see the bigger picture. How core values have guided humanity for millennia. It's truly fascinating and deeply affirming to realize that across the different eras and societies, people have again and again emphasized the importance of living a life of principle and virtue. Our inner compass, if you will, isn't some new invention of modern psychology. It's something our ancestors understood well and even described it differently. Even if they described it differently. Just messing up tonight. Put that in the comments section. Anyway, in this episode, we'll travel through a marketplace of wisdom, sampling insights from the ancient Stoic philosophers, a Holocaust survivor, Viktor Frankl, Eastern sages like Confucius, the African philosophy of Ubuntu, Islamic teachings, and indigenous wisdom. And I've got so much more on the plate. As we explore, notice the common themes: integrity, compassion, purpose, connection. Different words, but often a similar melody. This can deepen our faith in values as a universal foundation for a meaningful life. It's like discovering your personal compass aligns with true north that many others have pointed to already. Just a little off there. Grab up a few more. I think we are done. And if you haven't noticed in the background, I am playing 60. I am playing Pax Dei, The Search for Steel, and in doing so, I've come to think a lot on philosophies like we're going over tonight, especially core value philosophies, and how they will help us play MMOs, go through our work life and personal life. All of them are related. So what's amazing is this. No matter when or where, humanity has always wrestled with the big questions. What really matters? What's worth standing for? How do I stay true to myself, even when life gets rough? The answers echo through every culture and time. Wisdom, justice, courage, respect, connection, faith. By the end, you'll not only understand your own compass better, but you'll see how it's been shared, celebrated, and stress tested by the world's greatest minds and toughest survivors. So take a deep breath. Your global values toolkit is about to get a major upgrade. Let's start in the West with a journey to ancient Greece and Rome. Let me throw these in there, and I need what am I going to do today, guys? Maybe we get some play? That means I just need a weapon just in case. Don't need a big weapon, just a weapon. I honestly need to practice with that, so I will use that. There we go. I think there should be some down here. So, imagine yourself in Rome, 170 AD, standing in a candlelit tent of the emperor, Marcus Aurelius, on a military campaign. He's scribing in his journal, which later becomes his famous meditations, is what they call that. What's he writing? Likely reminding himself to stay true to his values and his wisdom, courage, justice, temperance, even amid the chaos of war. Marcus was a Stoic philosopher, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Marcus. And Stoicism taught that living in accordance with virtue is the ultimate purpose in life. The Stoics believed that while we can't control fame, fortune, or what happens to us, we can control our own character and actions. This is where true fulfillment lies in the Stoic philosophy. Well, they believed it as forever, right? Just in general. To the Stoics, virtue, or arete, meaning excellence of character, was the summum bonum, Latin for highest good. All other things, like happiness or success, would follow if one lived virtuously. They identified 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, practical to good judgment, courage, bravery, and fortitude, justice, fairness, and morality, and temperance, self-control, and moderation. These were the core values, so to speak. Listen to what Roman statesman Cicero said. Quote, "The man who has virtue is in need of nothing whatever for the purpose of living well." Boy, I butchered that. The man who has virtue is in need of nothing whatever for the purpose of living well. In other words, you have to have character in the right place. And if you have that, you have everything you truly need. And this guy built way too close to this. Man, there was a lot of clay over this way. Oh well. So one Stoic exercise was a daily reflection. So each evening, reviewing one's actions. Did I live up to my values? What can I do better? This is remarkably similar to what we might do in a modern journal or meditation practice. Stoics like Epictetus, is it Epictetus? Epictetus taught us that external events aren't inherently good or bad. It's our responses that matter. And those should align with our values. He famously said, quote, "The chief task in life is simply," I'm reading a lot of quotes here, so I have to look off the screen. Sorry about that. Now, I don't want to get them wrong because this is the wisdom that we're going to follow, or be, this will be what we move into our virtue. Wow. Let me go this way. Maybe I can find a path. I'm looking for clay instead. This is a side note. Clay is usually by river's edge. I don't think this is, this is swimming. Let's see. This is the first time I've been in this area. And because I have to navigate it like this, I can't read my notes. Which means that everything here, the clay that should be here, is not here. Let's see if the clay is up this way. Okay, so where was that quote going? The chief task, this is Epictetus. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that they can say clearly to myself which are externals, not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I do control. Where do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself, to the choices that are my own. The Stoic principle encourages focusing on being a good person, something within our control, right? Rather than worrying about the outcomes. And often the outcomes are beyond our control, right? Often. It's a powerful mindset. If I value honesty, what matters is being honest, regardless of whether whether it is praised or punished externally. I looked. I guess I could take the guns, but it would be tough without a shield. There's some. Let me do this real quick. I think I should be able to get these. Run away. Ah, there's some. I'll come back for it. And he's still after. At least I found some plate. That was really. Wow. Might as well get some gold on here, huh? If it was an arrow guy, it would have been a lot tougher. At any rate. So basically, let me reiterate on that, or repeat. If I value honesty, what matters is being honest, regardless of whether it is praised or punished externally. If I value kindness, I aim to act kindly, or even even if the world around me is harsh. The Stoics in our compass was all about virtue and moral integrity. And here's something beautiful. Because they valued virtue above all, they embraced a sense of common humanity. Marcus Aurelius wrote about how we are all citizens in a larger community, all children of the universe. Stoicism teaches us empathy and rational love for others, because valuing justice and wisdom means recognizing inherent worth of others and the rational order of the world. In fact, Stoics considered themselves part of the global city, a concept called cosmopolitanism. They believed that with virtue also meant contributing to society and treating others honorably. Go this way. Let's see if I can go around these guys. Forgot how close these guys were to me. I'm really just trying to get to the clay, which should be around here somewhere. Usually you can see the sparkle of clay from a distance, so keep that in mind. So if you apply Stoic wisdom today, your core values might echo theirs, focusing on character over superficial gains. For example, if you deeply value integrity, a Stoic approach would have you prioritize honesty in all situations, viewing a hit to your reputation or a material loss as trivial compared to betraying your own integrity. Stoicism challenges us. Are you living according to the virtues you profess? If not, nothing external will fill that void. One more quick Stoic gem. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, said, quote, works, not words. In other words, it's your actions, not our talk, that show our values. It's a good reminder for all of us. A lot of people say actions speak louder than words. Well, that kind of that saying for the Stoics is kind of in line with that, right? Really? There's just no clay around here? I'm looking for clay. This is ridiculous. There we go. Not a little bit of area where clay seems to be prevalent. Now you saw how much clay I picked up, right? Not much. Flint's a basic tooling for flint arrows at the very beginning. Depending on where my skills end up in verse 3, I'll probably need to craft those again. See if there's any around here. Okay. Man, a lot of ore. Oh, it does happen on top of Pax too. Just a plan. On game 2. Play does go up on here sometimes. Here's the other side of the I live right about in that direction. So I've come, and you can see me on a compass. Lots of different areas. I don't see any clay on the other side, so I'll stay on this side. Clay was a bad idea tonight if I'm going to get this podcast information out. Because I know you guys are like, I really want to know about this. Why are you just running around? I know, I get it. This used to probably have a lot of clay around it, and they just made this beast of a clan hall, maybe? Castle? Yeah. Anyway, let's go to Viktor Frankl. So, we're fast forwarding to the 20th century, one of the most harrowing environments imaginable, a Nazi concentration camp in World War II. Here we meet Dr. Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist who endured the unspeakable suffering in camps, including Auschwitz. Amid this darkness, Frankl observed a profound truth. Those prisoners who found meaning, often through holding on to their values, were more likely to survive, or at least maintain their humanity. Frankl's experiences led to him developing logotherapy, logopathy, logotherapy. That's how. A form of therapy centered on the quote will to meaning. At its core, he believed that humans could endure almost any how of life, and this is a tongue twister. He believed humans can endure almost any how of life if they have a why, a reason or value to live for. Frankl famously wrote, quote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms. To choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Think about that. Even when he was stripped of all liberties and faced horrific conditions, he realized he still had freedom, or the freedom, to decide what kind of person he wanted to be internally. That choice, not to become bitter, not to lose hope, to help others when possible, was an expression of his core values. He chose dignity, hope, compassion over despair and selfishness, even when starving and beaten. Frankl observed that some prisoners would share their last piece of bread with others, a testament to the value of generosity and love, even in the hellish conditions. These were spiritual victories when physical victory was not possible. I'm trying to figure out where I am so I can see if I can get some more clay. Clay on the other side. Let's do it. Okay, I didn't take any fall damage. I'm gonna have to do some testing. Seriously? All that. Now I gotta pick up all the clay around the sticks. There we go. Looks like I'm gonna have to take these two real quick, and then I'll get back into the wait for it. Let him hit you. I didn't want to fight him with it. I just wanted to grab this clay and move on. So I hit him with one big swing called the, it's called a wieldable shot. It's, what do we call it? I think it's the slam. That's what they call it. And then the slam gives you an opportunity attack to stagger your enemies, and also does more damage. I did 60, as you can see. It's a nice little attack. All weapons have their own little special attack. And the developers are still trying to figure out where we are in the balancing of the weapons. I'm gonna get my skinning up at this rate. Jeez. God, how many freaking 4 are over this one? It's 3 swings. It's a pain in the butt. It's not like I can't do it. It's just a pain in the butt. I mean, navigate after the swing and go somewhere else because everybody built over the actual clay areas. Thank you, people. It's so nice of them. There we go. Okay. Little parkour there. So, in Frankl's view, life's meaning can be discovered in 3 ways. Through creative work or deeds, which is what we give to the world. Through our attitude toward unavoidable suffering, right? And we can even through experiencing goodness, truth, beauty, or loving others. What we take from it. Notice how all of these involve values. Creative work might reflect values of contribution or creativity. Experiencing love or beauty reflects the values of love, gratitude, appreciation, and the attitude toward suffering is about values like courage, faith, endurance. Frankl watched prisoners who survived by imagining the loved ones they wanted to reunite with, or a project they wanted to complete. Essentially, latching onto a value or a purpose beyond the present pain. He himself survived by dreaming of his wife and reconstructing his manuscript that was destroyed, holding on to these values of love and intellectual purpose. Takeaway from Frankl, the takeaway is that the values give meaning, especially in suffering. When life is going too smoothly, values might not get tested. But when life goes through tragedy or hardship, when it throws hardship at us, falling back on our core values can be life-saving, mentally, if not physically. Frankl wrote that those who lost a sense of meaning in the camps deteriorated faster, whereas those who had something to live for, even something as simple as wanting to maintain self-respect or help a neighbor, found internal strength. This underscores a lesson for us all. Even when we face hardships, a job loss, illness, grief, we can try to locate the meaning by asking, what value can I hold on to right now? What is my purpose through this ordeal? Or can it be as humble as, I will face this with honesty and courage, or I will use this experience to deepen my empathy for others. By doing so, we exercise that, quote, last of the human freedoms Frankl spoke of. And we reaffirm that our inner compass is still in our hands, even when external circumstances are cruel. Man, I can't believe the lack of. I've actually had this plot here for the very reason of where it for the very reason that it was next to like some resources, right? And then people started moving in. I was like, great. Now they want us to move closer to one another, which is going to move us even they have to do something with the resources. So I'm not so sure they're doing that. So anyway, we'll see what they got in store for this adaptation. Our last episode. Let me go get some more wood. Let's see. I should have an axe here we can get rid of soon. I keep using it. I should be fighting this. Parkour. I thought I might swing at it and okay. So Viktor Frankl's legacy is a powerful reminder that core values are not a luxury for good times, but often a lifeline in the worst of times. If he could find meaning through the values amidst a concentration camp, we too can find guidance in our values during modern stresses and struggles. Whenever you feel lost or in pain, asking, what's my inner compass saying? What value can guide me right now? This might illuminate a path forward, no matter the difficulty. So let's journey to China, ancient China, as a matter of fact, around 2,500 years ago, where a scholar named Confucius otherwise known as Kongzu, was teaching us, or AKA Kongzu, was teaching us how to build a good society and noble character. Confucius's world was one of political chaos and moral laxity. See a better word, laxity. He responded by emphasizing a return to virtuous living and strong ethical values in every relationship. While Stoicism and Frankl focus on individual virtue and choice, Confucianism highlights the values in a social contract. How our inner compass also guides how we treat family, community, and authority, creating harmony. The core of Confucian values can be summed up in one word: Ren, often translated as humaneness or benevolence. Ren is essentially the value of compassion and loving kindness toward others. It's a virtue of being good, humane person. Confucius taught it that Ren is the highest virtue, the source of all moral qualities. But Ren doesn't stand alone. It works in tandem with Li, meaning propriety, ritual, and proper conduct. If Ren is the inner spirit of goodness, then Li is the external expression, behaving with respect, courtesy, and appropriateness in every situation. By following Li, like showing respect to your parents, elders, and observing community rituals, one cultivates Ren. Another important Confucian value includes Yi, which is righteousness or justice, doing what is morally right. Ji, which is wisdom, and Shin, meaning faithfulness or integrity. A later Confucian summary lists 5 constant virtues: Ren, benevolence; Yi, righteousness; Li, proper conduct; Ji, wisdom; and Shin, trustworthiness. Together, these cultivated a person of virtue, referred to as a Junzi. often translated as gentleman or exemplary person. The Junzi lives by these values consistently and thereby contributes to social harmony. Let's illustrate Confucian values in this scenario. Imagine a family dinner in a traditional Confucian culture. The value of fetal piety, or I'm gonna butcher this one. Xiao, respecting and caring for one's parents and ancestors, is paramount. Confucius considered filial piety as a cornerstone of Ren. The children serve the elders first, listen to their advice, showing Li and Shao. The elders, in turn, act with benevolence, Ren, and guide the young with wisdom, Shin. I think that's Shin. Give me a second. G. Sorry, not Shin. G. If a dispute arises, everyone is expected to handle it with decorum and righteousness. There's no shouting or disrespect, but finding a fair yi, or is it yi? Boy, I just read them and I can't. Give me a second. I gotta look at my pronunciation table. Yi. Oh, that's right. Which is peaceful resolution. This example shows us how values like respect, kindness, and duty weave through the daily life in a Confucian thought. Confucius also famously stated a version of the Golden Rule. Do not do to others what you do not want done to yourself. This speaks to empathy and reciprocity, treating others justly and kindly as you'd wish to be treated. A principle found in many cultures. We'll see it in Islam and Ubuntu as well. Where am I going? I'm eating. That's what I'm doing. I'm eating. And I'm going to take a little sip while I'm... Non-sponsored spot. My drink of choice is Zevia. It's a stevia-based 0 calories, 0 sugar cola, 0 caffeine as well. Anyway, in a Confucian lens, if you say value, let's say you value loyalty and duty, you would strive to be a loyal friend and a dutiful child or parent, a responsible citizen, if you will. Personal excellence isn't just personal. It's about contributing to the harmonious social order. There's a sense of our inner compass that must be attuned not just to our own soul, but to the community itself. One Confucian idea is that by cultivating our own virtue, we set an example that influences others, like ripples in a pond. So living your values authentically can inspire better behavior in those around you. A nice reminder that staying true to core values often has positive, it's a positive contagion. So it has that effect on people. For modern listeners, we can draw from Confucian wisdom, or what can we, excuse me, it's a question, golly. What can we draw from Confucian wisdom? Well, perhaps the importance of integrity in relationships. In our pursuit of personal goals, Confucius would remind us not to trample on the values of respect, kindness, and fairness toward others. Success is empty if we abandon benevolence and righteousness. If your core values include community, family, or compassion, Confucian teachings offer rich guidance on how to practice those in daily rituals, from simple politeness to maintaining trust and honor in all dealing. This is an affirmation that being a good person and citizen is a lifelong practice of small, correct actions aligned with bigger virtues. Now let's travel to sub-Saharan Africa to explore a beautiful concept known as Ubuntu. So it's Ubuntu. It's Ubuntu. Ubuntu is often translated as "I am because we are." Now, many of you who are gamers and perhaps in the computer industry might recognize that term Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is a different operating system than Windows. And it kind of gives it a little bit more meaning, because I didn't know this until I did research on it, what Ubuntu actually stood for, which I thought was brilliant, honestly. If you attribute it to an operating system, it just makes so much sense. Which I'll say it again. It means I am because we are, or a person is a person through other people. You can't have a person without having another person with you. Therefore, you are. The philosophy is you are because somebody else is. It's pretty cool. I like it. At its heart, Ubuntu is a philosophy of interconnectedness and community. It asserts that our humanity is tied to the humanity of others. We find meaning and identity through our relationships and the welfare of our community. In terms of value, Ubuntu emphasizes compassion, generosity, hospitality, respect, and communal unity. And I just realized I'm unstable. Yeah, that's okay. Head back. Imagine a rural African village where Ubuntu is the way of life. If one family is struggling, others will come to their aid, sharing food or labor, because there's a belief that we are all related and responsible for each other. One often cited anecdote, perhaps apocryphal, but illustrative, is an anthropologist who gave a basket of fruit to a group of children and proposed a race, expecting only one winner. Instead, the children held hands and ran together, then shared the fruit. When asked why, one child said, "Ubuntu. How can one of us be happy if all the others are sad?" This story encapsulates the value of solidarity. The happiness of one group is as important as individual gain, if not more. Ubuntu doesn't mean that the individual doesn't matter. Rather, it means that the individuals flourish through mutual support. Let me put this away. Well, as a matter of fact, I don't have to put it away just yet. Let me go ahead and do this real quick. Yeah, I'm just gonna finish off the purple. Usually I'd wait for my heartwood, but right now I'm just trying to get as much purple as possible and store as much wood as possible. There we go. And I should be able to see, I would go high enough. There we go. back and get more. And yes, this is not part of the game, honestly. This is just me doing the ants version of collecting all the resources before winter, so I don't get killed in verse 3, as I won't need to go out as often. Anyway. So it's a corrective to the extreme. Let me say it a different way. It's a corrective to extreme individualism, reminding us that kindness, empathy, and cooperation are core to being human. Nelson Mandela, the famed South African leader, described Ubuntu as the profound sense that we are human only through the humanity of others. That if we are to accomplish anything in this world, it will, in equal measure, be due to the work and achievement of others. He's a brilliant man. In practice, values like forgiveness also play a big role. As seen in South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation process, where Ubuntu philosophy encouraged former enemies to reconcile and rebuild collectively. Currently, that's been breaking down, but we can do more of an analysis. This is the philosophy that was predominant for a long time, so it may have fallen out of favor. And when we fall out of favor with anything, we treat anybody with disdain or like an enemy, we can see all the conflicts in the world, right? So let's tie this to our concept of our inner compass. If you hold community, belonging, or compassion as core values, Ubuntu is a rich soil to nurture this. It tells you that listening to that part of your compass which points toward community or community well-being is ultimately what makes you whole. For example, a manager at work applying Ubuntu might value team success over personal credit, fostering an environment where everyone thrives together. A gamer in an MMORPG might practice Ubuntu by helping equip and train new players, because the guild is only as strong as its members. Quote, I succeed because we all succeed, right? Ubuntu encourages us to expand our circle of concern beyond self. What can I do to uplift those around me? In return, you too are uplifted. And a rising tide lifts all boats. I think that's something, I'm not saying that completely, but that's the concept, right? If you're more familiar with that anecdote. In a very real sense, Ubuntu echoes the golden rule of and interdependence. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. Think about it. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that. Let me say that again. Dr. Martin Luther King said, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. He said it in a similar spirit of Ubuntu, right? The values, the values of empathy, shared joy, and shared pain are central. If an Ubuntu guided person sees someone suffering, their inner compass strongly compels them to respond, because ignoring it would be like denying a part of their own humanity. Likewise, envy and harsh competitiveness are tempered by understanding that life is not a zero-sum game. We truly are all my relations, right? as many indigenous cultures also say. And more on that soon. We'll get to that. For practical reflection, think of a time when you worked on a group project or you were part of a community. Maybe you volunteer, maybe a volunteer event, a sports team, a guild in a game, or family effort, right? Recall a sense of togetherness and accomplishment when everyone looked out for each other. That warm feeling of unity and collective pride is Ubuntu in action. It's realizing that core values like loyalty, cooperation, and care create not only stronger communities, but happier individuals. In cultivating your own values, Ubuntu would advise, don't just ask, don't just ask, who do I want to be for myself, but also, who do I want to be for others, with others? Because we find ourselves through others. It's very much servant leadership as well, but we can run those parallels as well. I have a lot to say about Ubuntu in the workplace because it's a really good measure, honestly, of the tools leaders need. At least one tool in the toolbox, right? So next, we'll briefly explore the values in context of Islamic philosophy and teaching. The Islamic traditions, stretching back to the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century Arabia, places great emphasis on moral values as commandments from God and pathways to a righteous life. Core Islamic values include compassion, rahmah, justice, adil, honesty, siddiq, generosity, karam, patience, sabar, and seeking knowledge, ilm, among others. The Quran and Hadith, which is the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, right, repeatedly stress these virtues as part of faith. One powerful saying of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is, none of you truly believes until he loves for his brother that which he loves for himself. And this was just a basic learning, guys. So I am not a theologian, and I'm not an expert. So I was trying to find a lot of different references, and so if I get something wrong, just be kind in the comments. This is essentially the golden rule in an Islamic context, emphasizing empathy, altruism, and brotherhood. To be a good Muslim, it's not enough just to perform rituals. One must cultivate such ethical values in daily life. For example, if I value honesty, as taught in Islam, I should be truthful in business dealings, right? I'm not to cheat or lie, even if lying could bring quick profit. If I value justice, I should stand up for the rights of others and be fair in judgment. Quote, even if it be against yourselves or your kin, as the Quran says in 4:135. Compassion and mercy are highlighted by the fact that nearly every chapter of the Quran begins with, in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Believers are urged to be merciful, as God is merciful. A historical Islamic figure exemplified by living by core values is Abu Bakr, the first caliph after Muhammad, known for his honesty and humility. Upon becoming leader, he said in his inaugural address, quote, help me if I am right, and correct me if I am wrong. Truthfulness is a trust. Falsehood is a treason. This shows the values of truth and accountability. Another example, the mystic and philosopher Ghazali, Ghazali wrote extensively on aligning one's life with spiritual values, like purifying the heart from greed and arrogance and filling it with love of God and others, right? Filling you love. He emphasized the golden rule of treating others as you wish to be treated. Excuse me, I just missed the tree. He saw it as it's central to Islamic ethics. Islamic teachings integrate personal values with devotion, like integrity, charity, kindness to neighbors, caring for the poor, are all seen as forms of worship. There is a saying of the Prophet, quote, let me get this right. The best of people are those who are the most beneficial to others. This ties individual virtue to social good, much like Ubuntu and Confucianism do. If, for instance, you identify faith or spirituality as a core value, give me a second. I just realized I was. There we go. Where was I? So if faith and spirit or spirituality, if you identify those as core values, then the Islamic perspective provides framework where living your values is both moral and a way to attain spiritual fulfillment. Your inner compass is, in a sense, also God-guided for those who believe, pointing you toward what is morally right as defined by divine guidance. If you're not Muslim or religious, there is wisdom in how strongly Islam emphasizes aligning deeds with value. One Quranic verse says, "O you who believe, why do you say what you do not do?" 61:2, I believe I researched that. Basically calling out hypocrisy, right? This reminds us that universally that claiming a value means little unless we practice it. To give a small everyday example, a Muslim who values compassion might make it a habit to smile and greet people warmly. There's a hadith, even a smile is charity. To feed the hungry, to forgive someone who wronged them for the sake of harmony. These acts reflect core values in action. The key values of sincerity, I'm going to butcher that, Ikales, and God-conscious taqwa in Islam are about being true to your principles when no one is watching. It resonates with all of us regarding integrity. It's it's that inner compass again. You do the right thing, not for applause, but because it's you, who you are, and what you believe is right. In Islam's case, because you believe in God, or believe God knows, and is pleased with those actions done sincerely, right? In short, Islamic tradition reinforces many universal core values and gives them a spiritual dimension. Justice, mercy, truth, love for others, perseverance. These are repeated, extolled, if you will, repeatedly extolled. It's a rich reminder that living by values is often seen as a sacred act. Fulfillment, it's a fulfillment of a higher purpose. Let me grab this. This back in here. Navigate over to this way. Looking for I was gonna go across the river to get more of the heartwood, but I just used my axe. Is getting there. Okay, so where was I? So whether or not you're religious, you might find inspiration here. For example, committing to love for others what you love for yourself as a personal mantra can significantly shape your daily behavior toward empathy and fairness. So let's lastly on our and lastly tonight, and we'll get the rest on Friday. Let's honor the indigenous wisdom traditions from various parts of the world, which offer profound value systems often rooted in harmony with nature and community. Indigenous cultures are diverse, from Native American and First Nations people to Australian Aboriginal communities to the Maori of New Zealand, Maori of New Zealand, and many more. But many share common themes in their values: respect for the earth, gratitude, interconnectedness of all life, community responsibility, spiritual balance, and honoring ancestors. A beautiful phrase used by many Native American communities, particularly the Lakota people, is, oh boy, Maita ko ke oyasin, which means all my relations. It's often said that at the end of prayers. This phrase embodies the core value the core value it symbolizes or embodies is the recognition that everything is connected. People, animals, plants, and the earth, the waters, the sky, everything's interconnected or connected. We are all relations in the great web of life. This fosters a value of reverence and responsibility. How to treat any part of the web, a person, an animal, the environment, ultimately affects the whole, including me. It's a holistic inner compass that points not just to true north for the self, but true balance for the whole community of life itself. We get some more trees. So, for example, many indigenous cultures practice giving thanks daily for the gifts of nature. Some First Nations have the Thanksgiving address, and it's an extended expression of gratitude for earth, waters, plants, animals, and more, acknowledging each as family and essential to life. This reflects the values of gratitude, respect, and environmental stewardship. Before taking something from nature, a plant for medicine, for example, or an animal for food, traditional practice is to say a prayer or give an offering to honor that life. The value here is humility and sustainability, taking only what you need and recognizing the sacredness of all life. Indigenous value systems often emphasize community and generosity. As a matter of fact, some tribes look at a person's honor was measured not by how much they accumulated, but how much they gave it away, gave away the accumulation. Right? Hence, practices like the potluck potlatch among Pacific Northwest tribes, where leaders would give away wealth to the community, reinforcing social bonds and mutual care. Elders are respected as the keepers of wisdom. They value respect for wisdom and elders, right? That's the value. Children are taught through stories the importance of values like bravery, honesty, respect. For instance, the seven grandfather teaching, and I'm going to butcher this, so my apologies. Anashinabi culture enumerate wisdom, love, respect, bravery, honesty, humility, and truth as fundamental values, each represented by an animal as a teacher. Right? These echo what we've heard in other cultures, but are grounded in a nature metaphor. That is, honesty associated with the raven, or truth with the turtle. Let's say your core value includes environmentalism and generosity. Environmentalism, community, and spirituality. Indigenous wisdom offers a guiding model, which basically states, live in a way that honors the earth as an extension of yourself, because it is truly our life support. And treat your community members, including non-humans, with care and respect. It might mean making life choices that prioritize ecological balance. Perhaps you choose a career in sustainable practices, or you simply make everyday decisions like conserving water, reducing waste, in line with respecting Earth. It could also mean value-wise, that you consider success not just personal advancements, but collective well-being. Traditional indigenous thinking often looks ahead to future generations, a value of long-term responsibility, if you will. The Iroquois Confederacy famously advocated considering the impact of decisions on the next 7 generations. Imagine how different our world would be if more of us used that measure for our choices. We heard earlier from the Wabanaki perspective. Quote, this way of life is about living close to Earth, close to our kin, and remaining ever mindful of our responsibilities to every living being. We must remain committed and disciplined if we hope to preserve this way of life in the midst of all the distractions of the modern world. Unquote. This line from an indigenous writer resonates, and I couldn't find the citation, resonates with what we discussed in episode 1 about modern distractions, or yesterday's episode, right? Pulling us from what matters. The anecdote offered is commitment to values. In this case, ancestral values of living simply, reverently, and in community. They recognize that abandoning those values for the sake of convenience or assimilation might mean, quote, losing the thread that holds humanity together. Strong words that reinforce how core values are threads weaving society and humanity together. If threads snap, we collectively unravel. It's kind of cool, right? It's a cool way to think about it. Well, in practice, embracing these indigenous values might involve spending more time in nature to cultivate respect and connection, practicing ceremonies or moments of silence to feel gratitude, helping neighbors as if they were family, and listening to the wisdom of elders or historical lessons. I went. Wow, here we go. So let me repeat that. God, got turned around. So you're listening to the wisdom of elders or historical lessons rather than just chasing the newest idea. The inner compass here doesn't just point to me and my purpose, quote unquote, right? But to, quote, us in our place in the great circle of life, unquote. It's a deeply holistic orientation that can bring a profound sense of belonging and purpose. Because your life is not an isolated journey, but part of a larger story and community. Wow. Gosh, we've traversed a vast landscape of wisdom. From this Stoic virtue to Frankl's search for meaning, from Confucius's harmonious ethics to Ubuntu's communal compassion, from Islamic principles to indigenous, all my relations, there's a golden thread through it all. Values guide us to live more authentically and meaningfully. Different cultures emphasize different aspects. Individual fortitude versus communal harmony, for example. And it's enlightening to see where they agree and where they balance each other. You might find certain traditions speak to you more than others, and that's wonderful. You can draw strength from those. Perhaps Stoicism inspires you to face challenges with courage, while Ubuntu reminds you to stay kind and connected, and indigenous wisdom keeps you grounded in nature. We are all inheritors of this global human wisdom, a big values toolkit that we can use to shape our lives. So take a moment to reflect. Did any particular quote or concept give you an aha feeling? Maybe Marcus Aurelius's steadfast focus on virtue, or Frankl's empowering assertion of freedom to choose one's attitude, or Ubuntu's philosophy that I am because we are, or the reminder that all my relations are part of who I am. Pay attention to the resonance. It might reinforce one of your core values, or even reveal a new angle to it. For instance, if you value courage, hearing how different cultures frame courage as endurance in Stoicism, as moral courage in Confucian righteousness, as faith and trust in divine support in Islam, or bravery in the face of adversity in indigenous tales, can deepen your understanding. As we continue, remember that knowing our values in the last 2 episodes and being inspired by values coming up will set the stage, but the real work and reward is living living our values consistently. That's where we'll turn next. We'll take this insight and start applying it to daily life with practical tools and real examples. We'll see how to make our inner compass not just a poetic idea, but a day-to-day reality guiding our choices, big and small. Oh yeah, tomorrow. Well, I guess Friday now. We'll go to Living Your Values, which will be episode 3. We've covered a lot of ground. We really did. If you hung in there with me, I hope you got something out of it. Like I said at the very beginning, this channel goes through every philosophy. There's good philosophy in every corner of the earth at any point in history. We can't dismiss something that is good. We can certainly dismiss something we don't agree with, or at least consider it and then disagree with it, right? We don't have to agree with it. That's not what we're saying. You don't have to agree with any one philosophy. One might be a little bit more or closer to you, or you may think one of your values may be more closely aligned with a certain philosophy than another. And that's okay too. My purpose is to bring you everything, so you have a buffet to choose from. Ultimately, when you're comfortable with yourself, I broke my axe, and I think that's actually it. The axe. Oh no, I have a little bit left. Wow, I don't even know if that's worth fixing. But anyway, as we progress through this, I really want you to take the time to identify 2 to 3 virtues, your core virtues, your top 3 things that make you do what you do, that make you who you are. I encourage you to listen to yesterday's episode. You can turn off the game. The game is not as important as the information being provided. Although this game is pretty cool, and it gives everybody a little background, and I get some work done in the game. I get some grinding done in the game. Hell yeah! I'm just hoping all this grinding pays off. We are in early development, so there is that. Early access might just wipe everything I'm doing. I don't think on the early access it'll do it. Like I said, there's a certain point where the developers are going to provide certain things back to players that are so that we have a try and get a good shot here. There we go. Anyway, so they're giving us something. So hopefully my grinding is working out, and hopefully, like I said, everybody's seeing the art that the developers are providing, and really that I should have started really early with this episode, honestly. And I might have to revisit societies, how we shape societies, because this episode's so important on how we will contribute to society and what values will mesh with our society. What happens? What are the questions we can come up with? Like, are there values that conflict? I don't know. From my research so far, no value conflicts, because again, we're looking at ourselves. And if your value is looking at other people or helping other people, how can that conflict with other people? There are certain circumstances, I understand that. You can put them in the comments if you like. That may explain that. But all in all, it'll be a really good foundation for our future talks, because we're getting into it. I did a podcast on education. I'll probably revisit that again, because as we learn, give yourself the ability and permission to modify your thinking. You don't have to think the same way forever. A value is core to you. It's fundamental. It'll take a little bit to change your values. Maybe I'll in a later episode, I'll get into what actually can change a core value. Core values are very hard to change. as I said in the beginning of yesterday's episode, one of the things that you look for in values is the fact that they're immutable at first, right? Or very hard to change. They're core to you. So if you do deviate from them, you feel uncomfortable. You feel icky. You get that ick. So we'll take a look at it. Give me your comments. Give me your questions. I am on LinkedIn. I am on X. I am on Rumble. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments section. If you have any suggestions or critiques, let me know as well. Until then, we will see you on Friday, because I'll be working. This is, in the United States, this is Memorial Day weekend coming up, so I'll have an extra long weekend. That'll be fun. So come out, join me. 8 Central, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, normally. I'm not sure on this Monday, but maybe, because it's a holiday, and I'm gonna barbecue. Well, with all that said, wherever you are in the world, have a good day, have a good night. Enjoy some of the outro music made by Suno AI and myself. I did some of the wording, some of the lyric, and did the musical direction and the instrumental direction. I helped modify that a little bit. And Suno put together the actual song, the instruments and such. So enjoy. And remember, I do have a channel called Elysian Echo. If you ever get a chance to check it out, I have a few music videos over there. And I'm thinking about, if you want to, put a 1 in the chat. Or put, hashtag music channel in the chat if you want to see me start a Spotify channel. Well, until then, have a good day, have a good night, no matter where you are in the world or when you are watching this. And we'll catch you on Friday. Be safe, everyone.
With every step, a lesson learned. From fire's heat to the fields I've turned. The blade and bow, the forge and flame. I sharpen my skills, I play the game. Each day brings a challenge I must face. I train my hands with careful grace. From alchemy's art to the hunter's way, I'll find the strength to seize the day. I carve my path, I walk the line, in the shadow of the ancient sign. Through trial and toil I'll find my way, learning more with each passing day. The skill of survival, the will to thrive, in a world where the strong survive. I face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. For every strike and every fall, I'm building my strength, I'm standing tall. In the heart of the wild and the calm of the night, I gather my skills, I'm ready to fight. From the herbs I find to the iron I mold, each lesson learned is a story told. The stars above, they guide my hand. As I hone my craft, I take my stand. In the quiet woods, in the mountains chill, I push myself, I shape my will. With each new tool and every lore, I'm stronger now than I was before. I carve my path, I walk the line, in the shadow of the ancient sign. Through trial and toil I'll find my way, learning more with each passing day. The skill of survival, the will to thrive, in a world where the strong survive. I face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. For every strike and every fall, I'm building my strength, I'm standing tall. In the heart of the wild and the calm of the night, I gather my skills, I'm ready to fight. tasted defeat, I felt the stain, but I rise again with each new spring. For knowledge is power, and wisdom the key. I'm forging my path, I'm breaking free. The skill of survival, the will to thrive. In a world where the strong survive, I'll face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. For every strike and every fall, I'm building my strength, I'm standing tall. In the heart of the wild and the calm of the night, I gather my skills, I'm ready to fight.